media to share. So you can hit, there's a little plus button, it's probably underneath some of these pictures that you would click on and share, share your name, where you teach at, what you teach, and then just something fun you're doing this summer. This would be a fun way for us to kind of connect, again, connecting virtually and building those relationships so we can keep collaborating around. And all these materials you're going to get on the SHAPE website and on the SHAPE Maryland website and on the SHAPE Maryland YouTube channel. So you can always come back and refer to this. This Padlet is like a living document. The virtual photo booth is like a living document. So you can always add to it later as we go through. So thanks for being a part of those activities. This is looking really cool. Okay. So those are fun things we'll get to do. Okay, so I like to start off by kind of putting a positive spin on this on the situation. So we kind of are thinking we've got our limited equipment at home. We're now teaching physical education online, but it's not a problem. We still have the best job in the world, and we totally have this. We know that the fall is kind of going to be a crazy new adventure. You know, a little bit of uncertainty, but I just think if we take this, you know, our same passion we have for going into our school buildings, and we kind of continue that online, we totally have this. We're going to work together, but we got this, promise. Our objectives today during our session, we're going to share ideas, discuss strategies, and list resources for teaching physical education classes with limited equipment virtually. And hopefully we're going to do some smiling, learning, collaborating as we continue to plan and prepare for the fall and winter for the e-learning adventure that is ahead of us as we go through. And I think that that collaboration is important. I definitely don't have all the answers, but I think it's a really cool piece to be like the facilitator and bring people together and share those ideas. So we have a lot of those chances here today. During your registration, we asked we asked 4 questions, and those were really, really helpful. And I think one of the coolest ones was, what were your successes that you had during the spring of 2020? Because hopefully you had a chance to celebrate those successes, but those successes can help us as we go into the fall. So I just pulled out some. We had, thank you for answering those questions. We had lots of answers. So this isn't everybody's. But just a couple of snippets. During the spring, we had a chance to be creative and really think outside the box. We were thrown into a new situation. And that's gonna, you know, we're gonna need to use that as we come up to this fall of 2020 year. Teachers were creating lessons using minimum equipment. So like trying not to put their students, you know, in a disadvantage. They were just, what can I teach that I might not need a lot of equipment for? Providing options for various equipment. You know, teachers were awesome this spring about, like, if you don't have a ball, well, what else could you use? You know, asking the students what they have in their house or giving them examples of what they could use, and allowing for choice during a lesson. So like, you know, it could have been it could be a striking lesson, and you can use this piece of equipment or you can use this piece of equipment, or, you know, here's an idea for both. Here's how you can make both of these. So I think that was that's something to celebrate and to carry us over. A couple other ones, creating lessons that can be done inside or outside, thinking of our students not all having the same home environments. So just kind of having that in mind as we're planning. Classroom Bitmojis and virtual field days really took off this spring. And I think that created, that helped with some student engagement in some places. So we'll talk just a little bit about that. This is a big one, that collaborating, that should be like in big, huge letters. Collaborating with other teachers, I think, is like one of the biggest pros that maybe came out of this whole COVID adventure, that teachers got to know each other, got to work with other health and PE teachers that they might not have worked with before, and teachers outside their building or in their building they might not have worked with. So I think the collaborating on social media with other teachers has been a huge part. And this also, a couple of teachers mentioned integration of lifetime activities in the spring. So maybe something they might not have taught, including like dance activities online. So that was really cool. And thinking about safety and providing students those reminders. So, okay, we're gonna do this lesson, but I need you to make sure you're safe. just like you would be in the gym. So reminding them to be safe while they're at their homes was pretty important. The next question we asked was about barriers. And I think it's important to think about the barriers when we're planning, because then we know, okay, how can we reach our students? You know, what's a barrier that's going to, you know, prevent them from being able to attack this lesson. So one of the barriers was not knowing what the students have at home. You know, we have hundreds of students that we teach, and we're not always sure, you know, what they have at their house. That can definitely be a barrier. Assuming that students have the essential materials. A couple of teachers reached out and said, my students don't have tape. I want to make this, you know, piece of equipment, but they don't even have tape. Space is a big one. You know, like we said before, it can be a success, but it can also be a barrier. Want our students to be able to go outside or to have room to move, but they might only have, you know, a little bit of room in a living room. So space can definitely be a barrier. Having that support at home, locating materials or just having that assistance at home is a barrier. And then participation and engagement, that came up a lot in a lot of different surveys. How do I keep my students engaged online? So we know reaching our students is super important. And I think that one of the questions that we had, the last ones, was those 6 strategies to overcome those barriers. So now, okay, we've realized that this is a barrier. How can I be successful, and how can I reach and go above and beyond to reach that barrier? I think a big piece is providing video demonstrations that both helped with engagement and with students' understanding of the lesson. And I think part of this in another slide is like, if I'm not comfortable with a video, then somebody else helping me make a video and sharing those videos, that collaboration piece was really big. Older students doing an at-home inventory of their possible equipment they can use. So even before we start the lessons, kind of do a scavenger hunt, or kind of do a little search at home. You know, what could you use for a ball, or what could be used for different skills and concepts as they're going through. Providing options for students when using equipment. So, you know, again, like we said before, if they don't have a ball, could they use a stuffed animal? If they don't have a bucket, could they use a laundry basket? And just, I think, reminding and letting the students know that it doesn't have to be, you know, it can be a variety of materials. Differentiating for different pieces of equipment, you know, letting them know it's okay. It doesn't all have to be the same. So thinking about that. And then providing those step-by-step directions, kind of just like you would in class, you know, doing that online for our students. Checking in with students, seeing if they're okay and seeing what they need. I know Google Meets were used a lot for that. Some parents were kind of doing, or some teachers were doing some phone check-ins. So I think continuing to building that relationship and the check-ins are really big for that. Assessing for student knowledge of the skills and concepts rather than just performance. We're so used to, you know, can they gallop, you know, from point A to point B? Does it match all the skill cues? This might be a time where I'm looking to see, can they apply the skills, or do they understand what they're doing? So some teachers were kind of trying that out in the spring and found some success for it. An idea for the fall might be students creating a PE kit bag or a PE bag. So as they're kind of looking through their house, they're noticing like, oh, maybe I could use, you know, this ball could be part of my PE bag. So when I have my PE class, you know, this ball or this sock, you know, I can keep it in one safe place, and that can be what I'm going to use, whatever we put on the list. And then I think a huge strategy is, again, sharing those resources, sharing your videos. A couple of counties had a Google Share Drive where teachers could just share whatever I created. I could voluntarily put into the share drive so that all the teachers could benefit from it. That takes a little bit of stress. Even just ideas, teachers just sometimes need to see like the idea so they can build on it for their own students. So sharing anything, collaborating, I think is a huge resource and strategy for our teachers. Here is a lesson that a couple of our teachers did, creating your own equipment. So they gave their students some visuals. Sorry, this whole thing is in the way of making the flat little flat piece there. So they made some visuals and put this into a Google slide. And then they did a video, just like we talked about. And when I put the links in, I put it so it like forced the copy so that you would get a forced copy. So when you click on the link, it'll say that make a copy for you. That way it's just safe and all the originals stay, and you guys will just get your copy when you link on it. But as we kind of built our lessons, we would build them just like we would if we were teaching in front of the students. So here's a warm-up idea for this particular striking lesson. And then it goes through with the objectives of the lesson and kind of how to build and the equipment, some visuals on how to build the equipment and the lessons. And then the teacher did a fantastic video, again, just highlighting and reaching all of our learners. Hopefully you can hear this. Thanks, Courtney, if you're on. I'll just go forward a little bit. So you can see, like, the students would see their teacher still doing the activities, and get a chance to, on their own time, they would make the equipment. And then this teacher used some GIFs as she was building her lesson, so the students could either follow her or follow the GIF that she put in her lesson. And then she had a Google sheet for her students, for a Google form, sorry, for her students to do as an assessment. Just an idea to show students variety of things they could use as they go. And then some teachers just said, what kind of equipment could you make? Here's an example. It doesn't have to be this. Could you make something else? Kind of left it up to the student to be creative, which turned out to be pretty cool. Here's another couple of lessons that teachers did this spring. This first lesson is a video of a teacher for a first grade lesson on doing some catching. Oops. There we go, sorry. Oh, I can do that, sorry. So this was, this teacher kind of put her lesson together on what the students would need, and then kind of demonstrated for the students. So they would do the activity.
Amy, if you have the link, can you just copy that into the chat so that others can view? It's hard for us to be able to see that and hear the video.
You can't see it right now?
We can see it, but we can't hear it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
That way others will be able to watch it on their own laptop and hear the audio.
Yes. Gosh, sorry.
Again, we're going to be sharing the slide deck with everybody and posting it on our Shape Maryland website. So teachers, anybody participating can go back in and we'll be able to watch all these videos on their own time.
Yeah, sorry guys, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the sound. Sorry you can't hear that. Here is, this is one for, and oh, sorry, in that other video that I was showing you before, at the end of the video, she kind of explained to the first graders how if they didn't have a bag, if you go back and use a sock, or she had a stuffed animal, a couple of different variations. And then this one is a so again, just to show, hopefully,
okay.
a little bit of that one as they go through. And then we kind of talked a little bit about safe movements at home, just kind of making sure that students were being safe. So this quick little video that, again, you'll get to see when you get the link to everything. This one here, they were just kind of doing a couple of different activities on moving safely and just using low hurdles, which again, they could use stuffed animals as hurdles. They could use a piece of paper as hurdles. But again, looking for that space, and you kind of just challenge the students to look around the area and make sure it was a safe place before they got started. Just a different way to use equipment that they had in their house. So yeah, you'll get to see all of those and view all those as you go through. We talked a little bit about how Bitmojis became a big hit in the spring, and we kind of saw that it kind of helped with student engagement at all levels, elementary, middle, and a couple of high schools that tried it. So this is like and we have a how-to video if anybody's interested. Nicole Deming and I helped put together a little how-to video for it. But you can also use it as an activity. So this could be like a get to know you activity. Building relationships is going to be huge in the spring. And so this could be an activity where each thing is, each little character is linked. Oops, sorry. Each character is linked. When you see the presentation, it'll be linked. But each character is linked to a different question that the students can do. I think it has to be in unpresent mode in order to see it through the Google slide. But it'll be linked to a question like what is the student's favorite color and that kind of stuff. And then you can put a video of yourself in little screens too. That's just a fun way to do that as well. Another fun engagement activity that teachers tried in the spring was printing out a flat Stanley. So they just kind of printed out their own flat Stanley of themselves and mailed it to their students. And students took pictures of themselves doing the activities and either sent them to the teacher or kind of just described it in the Google Classroom. So they might have doing a push-up activity or doing, anything part of the lesson, but they would have the teacher's picture, right there with them as if they were in the real classrooms. That was like a really fun activity. And then here's a couple of secondary examples for our virtual learning that Frederick County had shared out. So here's a quick little video for basketball, where the students could move, and again, the teachers could use this as part of their oh my god.
Sorry, I think we keep hitting the unmute button at the same time. I'm going to let you do it. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Sorry, no worries at all.
Nope, sorry. And just real quick, just everybody, if you could please make sure to keep yourself on mute. And that's kind of why we just had that little problem. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. Brian, anything in the chat box before anything I forgot about?
Just some good conversation going back and forth. A question did come up about the Bitmoji classrooms, just so that if students do have screen readers, Bitmoji classrooms are not accessible. So we will have to make sure that we're providing resources and support for those students in your classes.
Oh, good to know. Thanks for sharing, whoever showed that. I love learning new stuff. Thank you.
Karen Cart, MCPS.
Oh, thanks, Karen. Write that down too so I don't forget. So we talked a little bit about elementary lessons that were successful. Here's a couple of secondary lessons that could be successful during the e-learning ideas. So there's a visual for a basketball give and go. There is a V-cut video that could be used as well. as they go through quick little, just quick little videos the students could use to go through. And then, and you're going to get all these links, a defensive reducing space templates for different scenarios. And again, I made it all force copy so that you can get it safe and didn't have to worry about the originals. So it'll look like this when you get it. So that way it'll be your copy. But you can go through and just see if you're working like in a team sports class or in the secondary schools. So the students can see like where they can play defense, having that question as they go, and then they can either make a copy for themselves and show you, or they can write it and show you there. So just a couple of quick little examples for secondary as we go through. So somebody had mentioned in the survey that like what we teach and how we teach might look different this fall, and I think it will. And that kind of, it's funny, Shape Maryland's going to do a session next week, which is going to be perfect for asynchronous and synchronous teaching. But what our scope and sequence is probably going to look different in the fall, and might be your county might decide kind of what it looks like or help you with that. But we can still teach standard 1, but this might be a time where we want to focus on standards 2, 3, and 5, and kind of, you know, we can do the performancing, but you know, they understand the skills and concepts as we go through, and give them time to explore and give them time to be creative as they go through and explore the motions and the movements instead of like being concrete and, you know, following those skills and cues as we go through. And somebody also mentioned in the survey that they did on the pre-registration survey about, is it just about planning a lesson or an activity, or is it, you know, are we still thinking about planning lessons? And I think that just to mention briefly, I think it is definitely about planning those lessons. And when we're planning, we're always kind of using that backwards planning process. This is kind of like just I'm a visual person. So this is the visual that I kind of think of is like, my first start is my identify the desired results, what I want the students to learn, what standard, what grade level exact outcome am I reaching towards. I determine the evidence of the assessment, how am I going to assess my students? And then you can start to plan as you go through. It's that backwards planning. And this last one is like checking for understanding, and then kind of going back and reviewing as needed. It's kind of like a cycle as you go through. But I think it is, especially as we head into the fall, it's definitely about planning those. We are planning our lessons, not just like, you know, little activities at a time for that. Here's another backwards design. If there was EPEW, the Elementary Physical Education Workshop was last week. It was fantastic through the state of California, and this is Bailey Sandsmart, her visual for backwards planning. So another resource to check out for lots of ideas was the EPEW conference from last week. So this is the visual on backwards planning and how it is a cycle as you know, as you keep going through. Here in our county, this is a lesson plan template that I thought might be helpful. So this is kind of what we're using for e-learning or hybrid, you know, whatever kind of comes up that way. So we're still kind of, you know, focusing on different skills and concepts, and still, you know, kind of having, like we said in that Google slide, going with our outcome, introducing the activity, introducing a skill or concept, describing the activity for the teachers, and, you know, how are we going to assess those? So just like we normally would if we were going to be face-to-face with our students, this is kind of how we're planning out. And if that template works for you, this link right over here is going to be a link that you can check that out on a Google slide. Were you there? So I would like to spend a couple of minutes getting your ideas. This is a Jamboard activity, and if you haven't used a Jamboard activity, this is a gathering place. So we'll put this link, if Brian wouldn't mind putting this link in the chat box, that'd be awesome. But a Jamboard is a Google product that is listed on the, there we go. So when you log into your Google account, if you have a Google account, Jamboard will be listed for you to go into. And this is a way, like a collaboration space where it's a live space that they can go into. There we go. So we kind of set it up, and I would like you guys to participate a little bit in this for the next couple of minutes in this Jamboard. We've got a couple of topics listed on our Jamboard, but you're welcome to add to it. So as we go through, you can see we've got the topic up here in the left-hand side corner. And you can either grab a sticky note over here on the left, or if you want to put an image, you can, right under that, you can go to an image of the web or over, and you can add in your idea. So if you have ideas or questions about skills and concepts and ideas that require minimum equipment, like what can we teach, or what's a skill or concept that might not need a lot of equipment, you can grab a sticky note and add it in here. And you're welcome. You guys have editing rights to this. Even after today, you can come back and visit the Jamboard and see what teachers are adding into. The next slide is lesson equipment for small spaces. So what is something that we can think about or that we can use in a small space? So something that might need minimum equipment. Let's see, I'm just going to add one in here. I'm going to use orange because it is opening day. So if you think of something and want to add it in for the next couple of minutes, we're going to work on this. I'm going to put, you just can kind of drag out your sticky note in there. So skills and concepts that might not require a lot of equipment. I'm going to add that in. Sorry, I was going to go to the next screen.
Amy, do you know if there's a limit to the people who are allowed in Jamboard?
I don't think there should be a limit. Are we having trouble?
Yes, it says there's too many people accessing it and we can't get in.
No, oh gosh, I have not had that. We did it for a couple of, oh gosh, oh no. Wonder if I should start another one. So if you want to add it into, oh gosh. If you want to add it into the chat box, we can always, like if you've got a concept over here, we can add into the chat box as well. And we can keep going back and forth. So we're at 17 and it says, sorry guys, I did not, we've used it before with definitely more than 17 teachers. Let me see. Let me grab. You guys were on that one.
So we see some comments that, yeah, 50 is the limit and we would need to set up multiple Jamboards.
I'm going to do that right now, at least for today. I'm going to do 50 is the limit. That is...
These comments are fantastic. Thank you. So everybody's chiming in with great advice and information. Work smarter together, not harder alone.
Yes. This is great to know for
hello, Don Levine from Connecticut. If we go off and past 50 minutes, you can come right back on with the same link, I believe, because I was in the same situation a week ago or so on a meeting.
Really?
I believe so. Don't quote me on that, but that's what the person said.
Okay, I'm going to try really quick and add a second one. I'm going to put it in editor.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, guys. Sorry. Where do I find the chat box? Hey, Brian, how do I find the chat box?
You should just be able to click on that bottom, in the bottom toolbar, the chat, and it should pop up for you.
Yeah, I don't have.
Because you're
on
probably
your screen
still screen
somewhere.
sharing. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there it is. All right, I'm going to put in, here's a Jamboard 2. If anybody wants to, this is a second link for a Jamboard. Thanks for working through this with us, guys. So we've got Jamboard 1 and we've got Jamboard 2. If anybody wants to jump in either one of those links. Oh, I like how people have added to it. I like it. So we've got like dance and cultural movements with limited equipment, mindfulness. That would be awesome. Learning components of fitness. Alphabet workouts. The teacher assigns a workout for the week. Yep, that would be fantastic. Tabata. Let's see, what do we have? The next question, if anybody's ready for the next one, lessons and equipment ideas for small spaces. Feel free to grab a sticky note, jump in there. Oh, I like that. And for targets, having an X on the different walls for different heights, that's a great differentiation strategy. That's in teaching striking skills virtually. Targets was a question that somebody had put on the what can be used as a target. It's on slide 5. That was on the survey that we filled out. Some students were having trouble finding targets in their house, or what could they use as a target.
Amy, are you able to share the second Jamboard?
Oh, I thought I did. I put it in the I put it in the chat box. Did I not?
It didn't pop up. If you add it to the, just put your link
Yep.
on the
slide.
in the slide deck, and I'll dump it in.
Can do. Right here. Sorry, guys. Real life. There it is.
And Amy just showed you how to add a link to a Google slide.
Add a link really quick. Really quick. Oh, now I can't see it. Yeah, so then we've got 1 and 2. Everybody has editing rights for. Love the pillow idea. That's it. I didn't even think about pillows. Your videos is going to be a big. It's going to be a big one. How do we keep students engaged at all levels? Those are the questions. So I know we talked about Bitmojis, but if there's another idea that you have, please, feel free to. That's on one of the Jamboard activities. And then somebody had asked in the survey about successful ideas for middle school and high school. So if anybody's got any tips or tricks, things that were successful specifically for the secondary schools, we can add those onto the Jamboard. Okay, that one, let's see. There too. I'm just gonna go through. Plastic lids. I like it. And those can be different sizes too, for throwing and kicking. Empty cans and water bottles can be targets. Yeah, see, I like that. Videos. I think videos are going to be rolled up socks. I love you're going to be able to continue your running club virtually. That's awesome. Sorry for my friends who are in Jamboard 2. Challenges, pillows, empty water bottles. I'm just going to move these over so everybody can see. That one, let's see there. Socks are a big one. I know. My son's, in my son's class, they were afraid to share their socks, but it happens. Change your pace, your lesson. Cardio drumming, that was a big hit for us in the spring too. Plastic bottles. I love it. And this Jamboard can be used, you can come back to this and we can keep adding. I think this is a great collaboration tool now that we've learned that you can only have 50 people in a session. Sorry, we learned that the hard way. Thanks so much for working through that with us, guys. But even after the session today, you can come back and you can keep adding in your thoughts to the session when you get the links to those. So that's the Jamboard. And you just go, it's jamboard.google.com is the website for Jamboard. And you just log in with your Google account. And sometimes students like to add images for that. But I think the last couple of things I had for you guys were a couple of resources. But I think together, collaborating and sharing and learning together, that's gonna be a huge resource. Continuing to shape Maryland PDs in our counties. As we go through, Shape Maryland is gonna be a huge resource. So I put a link here to the Shape Maryland website. Shape America is putting out lots of webinars and a re-entry guide. So there's a link to that. Twitter and different social medias has really come up. I know that in the spring, HPE at home was a big hashtag. If you're on Twitter and you looked up HPE at home, you saw a lot of different ideas. I think that'll be carried into the fall. That'd be pretty awesome. And I think everybody's kind of in the same boat that we are, like trying to find ideas for equipment and lesson ideas. This link here for Gopher at Home alternatives is really pretty awesome. If it says like if you require, if your activity requires a ball, like here's another alternative that you could use. If it requires an agility ladder, here's something else that you could use to demonstrate and to have your students use. So thanks, Brian, for sharing this list. I think this is going to be cup stacking, just using plastic cups, fitness bars. So they really went through and have a good amount of equipment listed on here. Just various things that you can use as you go through. So I think that's a great list. Open Phys Ed, I know, is working on creating lots of resources for teachers. The cbhpe.org, Becky and Mark Fuller have a fantastic website. So generous to create this website, and they're always updating it too. It's one of my favorite websites to go to. You can get gifts if you're not sure about making a gift for yourself or of yourself. They've got a whole collection already there for you, online lesson templates and more. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure to check out that website as you go into the fall. And then, I had that last one. Oh, Slides Mania is a great resource for creating. They have templates for presentations, and sometimes they're already like done templates that you can use on there as well. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime. That's my email address, and I am on Twitter as we go through. But you're going to have all the links to everything, the Jamboards and everything like that, that you can use at your resources.
So we do have a few questions, and some of them actually were answered in the chat. Someone was concerned about students sharing pictures and things like that with the teacher, but again, somebody responded that you need to make sure that you're checking with your systems, school systems, policies, and regulations. Most of the parents sign off that it is allowed, and again, we're not sharing these pictures out socially. It is only shared within the classroom itself. So that's a different situation than sharing it socially. Another person asked that a few people are talking about doing live teaching sessions. And so just as an FYI, that's actually our PD for next week. So August 5th, Rich Wiles, our current president, is going to be running a asynchronous versus synchronous instruction and physical education course, a PD, similar thing, an hour long. So just make sure that you go in, sign up for that, and hopefully be a part of that. I believe it's August 5th, and I'm not sure what time. I actually have to check. So please go sign up for that. And then there was a great conversation going back and forth concerning student access with the internet. And actually Dean Revisa in Salisbury and Wicomico County pointed that out, and people shared how their school systems are dealing with internet access. And again, if we're asking kids to record themselves, do they have the capabilities to do that? All their school systems doing that. In Frederick County, where my real job, we are providing Chromebooks and having those resources available. Our students have been using Flipgrid for the last year and absolutely love it. And again, you can set it up so that it is private and only shared between you and the student, or you can set it up so that the students can make feedback. We're lucky enough that we also have WeVideo, which is a great add-in to Chrome extension as well. So that's a great tool that the students can add and share different information. Anything else that I'll answer the other questions. I'll look at the other questions, but Amy, any of your thoughts?
No, I think that's those are I think the permissions is going to be if what your county says, that's a really good. We kind of had that same conversation, and I think that like you kind of touched on, and it'll probably be touched on next week too, is giving a variety of assessments. Like, if you're going to ask your students to send in a video, what else could they do instead if they don't have that? Because internet's that's a huge concern here in our county too. So for the connectivity, but Yeah, I think I forgot to say earlier that a lot of it is kind of like trial and error. You know, what's going to work for one student in the class might not work. So I think a lot of it on the teacher is going to be flexibility, like giving those options and then being flexible, you know, with your students, with what they have at home and kind of giving them. So I think those check-ins, the Google Meets are going to be are going to be super important to make sure those students are able to ask those questions and build those relationships.
Just looking at the other questions we completed, I believe, you know, and thank you to Chris Herschel, Jason Semenoff. They've also been monitoring and helping out and answering questions to some other questions that were inside of there. So fantastic. Again, just thinking about what we are grading on, we are, again, promoting physical literacy. We want kids to be active and healthy for a lifetime. So we are truly looking at what the state framework is and what the local essential curriculum is and what the local essential curriculum requires based on the standards inside of there. So making sure that our instruction is aligned to what those standards are.
Yes, exactly. I think, yeah, like this, yeah. You hit it. Yeah, you hit it. I can't add more. That's what we're thinking too. Yeah.
Everybody continue to pass on the word that Shape Maryland membership is free for the rest of the year until next year. We want to get as many people in on these and build our professional learning network throughout the year to help us get through these new teaching times.
Absolutely. Any kind of like, and too, if anybody learns of like any strategies, you know, to share out that, you know, everybody could share out together. I think that would be, that's awesome too, because the more we learn every day, we're going to help our students. I'm just peeking over there.
We did put the certificate of participation link in the chat box. So if you do require that for your school system, all you have to do is, and please just make sure that the information that you type into the form is the information that goes onto the form. So please make sure that you are using your correct email address, spelling your name properly, because that's what will go on the form for that you'll get in return. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for being here today, everybody. Really do. I think it just shows a lot for our state, outside of our state. Thanks for being here. If you are outside of Maryland, jumping in and being a part of our Shape Maryland family.
Thanks from Connecticut. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Send me up some of those great crab cakes.
They're all for us.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job.
32 years doing this. I still love it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I want to see faces. Oh, it's so hard not to see faces.
Yeah. Exit. Stop sharing screen.
Oh.